everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cup Interviews, brought to you by Cup of Hemlock Theatre. Yes, it's a change in view this week. It is not Ryan Barakovich, our wonderful literary manager, doing the interview. No, it's me, your marketing manager, Mackenzie, doing an interview. And today I get to interview someone who is very near and dear to my heart. My mentor when it comes to all things theater, especially directing. But she is the Lady of Muskoka, the Mrs. Lovett, as it were, of baking, the John Adams of musical theater, and she's just one of my dearest friends, and also podcast host. She is Autumn Smith.
Hello,
Autumn.
hello.
Yes, welcome back to the Cup.
Thank you for having me.
I know you came on for R&J. You survived that episode with that play.
Did I? I'm not sure, but I did because I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here, and I have today I have a snow man cup.
Love it.
It was the mug that would sustain the amount of coffee needed to wake me up this morning.
Perfect.
And my other two preferred mugs are in the dishwasher.
So there you go. And I'm drinking...
Get a little bit of Christmas.
I love it. Well, Christmas is coming, everybody. Oh. Enjoy this nice summer weather while we have it, with your mask on.
You really took that to another place.
I
just
did.
think in the winter, masks can be substituted with scarves.
That is very... I did not think of that. That is very smart. I like that. I like that. And this morning, I am drinking a banana kiwi Crystal Light.
Yes. You are your own episode of the Golden Girls, my friend.
There's the other podcast we have to do at some point. Is do a Golden Girls rewatch podcast for every episode. We do some Golden Girl fun. Maybe Cup of Hemlock will sponsor it. Well, let us know.
My family will be elated. So
my family will just go, Mac, why are you watching these old ladies again? They've never understood my love of that show.
They're so funny.
I just go, it's fantastic writing. That show is some of the best writing in television.
Yes. And it's like four phenomenal artists doing just stellar work.
Yes.
In fact, Reed, our youngin, was so impressed with that show that he named his 4 goldfish after the Golden Girls. I mean, they didn't last long. They were beyond golden.
Yeah. But this isn't the Golden Girls interview. No, this is... I know. It could very well be. But no, Autumn, we want to talk to you today. All about you, your career, what you've been doing. Because you are a fascinating lady. I mean, the fact that you got to hang out with the Rolling Stones and Andrew Lloyd Webber and Lucy Arnaz and so many other cool people.
Yes. Yeah. It's been a life lived.
Exactly.
A real life lived.
Yes, exactly. So why don't you give us a little bit of a brief history of you, kind of where you've studied in the world, because we have a unique connection, don't we?
We do indeed.
So why don't you give us a bit of a rundown of who
back
you are?
To my childhood years.
Sure, we'll go from your time when you met little Orphan Annie at a dance competition.
Oh yeah, that did happen when I was. I tell you, there are stories. There are stories. I started my love of the arts when I was 5.
Love it.
When my brother, who was a figure skater but not a very flexible figure skater, was it was suggested to him to go take dance classes. So I would sit there and watch him dance, and I was so envious. So I said to my mother, I want to do that. So she put me in dance, and then I literally danced until I was 20 when I damaged my knee. So yeah, I loved it. I was not your typical dancer because I'm, a stout little tank of energy. But I loved it, and it allowed myself and my family to travel throughout North America, which was really exciting. So uh, it was difficult, but it awarded many gifts.
Yes.
And I got to meet John Travolta and Aileen Quinn on 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 that journey, which was pretty exciting. Cool. And then I got into theater. A friend of my mother's at church said, "Oh, they're looking for dancers for Music Man at the Oshawa Little Theater." So my mother said, "Oh yeah, we'll the kids will come and they'll audition." I had no idea what I was in for or the life I was in for at that moment. I thought, "Oh, this will be a little bit of fun, rah rah." Oh, my dog is even piping in. How exciting!
There you go.
And we were in the Music Man. I was like a little dancer girl. I did not play Amaryllis.
Oh.
That's okay. It's okay. I'm really over that. It was not my role. Still not my role. I'm definitely more of a ukulele McKechnie.
I could totally see you rocking that role.
So we did that, and then I was stuck. I was literally stuck there, and I spent my youth from 9 to 18 at the Oshawa Little Theater, treading the boards there, and
love it.
Then I went briefly to Sheridan for musical theater, but then decided that was not my path. Went to Ryerson very briefly for technical theater, but decided that was not my path. And then I just decided to go out on my own. I did not get my BA. I worked, I did some shows, and then I got into a conservatory program at the Oxford School of Drama in England. So I went there. I finally, for the first time, understood why people do Shakespeare, which was exciting. Hated the guy in high school, so it's okay, guys. If you hate it in high school, it will pass. This too shall pass.
Well said.
Thank you. And then I came back and I started a theater company. I started Mackenzie Rowe, which was an Irish repertory theater company. And we did contemporary Irish plays, mostly by Conor McPherson and Enda Walsh. They were our big hits, but we also did Alan Bennett's Talking Heads, and then we wrote new pieces. I did The Rake's Progress. Do you know where Tom Rakewell is? Which is I'm still working on it. It's still a piece that I'm very interested in staging again. But it's a devised piece, so it radically shifts every time I approach it.
You love those.
Exciting. And then I did a piece about the Irish potato famine, and the company staged it in Ireland Park in Toronto. So it was great. And so that was like an 8-year journey. I went to the Shaw Festival. I interned there as a director. And then my personal life kind of imploded, which it needed to do. And I decided to go back to school and focus on getting my master's. So that is where the fates took over and Mackenzie Horner and I met. I did my master's at York, 2013 to 15. Mackenzie was the most wondrous AD I could ever hope for. And now I'm here in Muskoka. I'm directing. I have my own theater company up here. Littlewoodsmith. I'm freelance directing. I'm doing a lot of teaching. Wow, that took a lot longer than I anticipated.
You did great. I think that was a perfect highlight reel of your theatrical journey.
Yes, thank you, Mac. I appreciate that.
And if you do want more celebrity stories of Autumn and her many celebrity encounters, be sure to listen to our podcast where we have a few of those stories featured. Yes, there are a few. I was lucky. I went back after Oxford, I came home Mm-hmm.
But then, for various reasons, I went back to England for a 2-year period.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to work in the theater there. I've worked
Mm-hmm.
on the lighting crew. I was a pyrotechnic fire person. Don't
Yep.
ask me how these things transpired. It was all
Mm-hmm.
luck, really. And some crazy people came through my door of those theaters that I got to exchange.
At least tell us the Rolling Stones story. I think that's what everybody really wants to know is the
I
Rolling
mean,
Stones.
I don't know if it's too exciting, but I was doing some front of house management in one theater one night on The Graduate, and Jerry Hall had just taken over the role of Mrs. Robinson from Kathleen. And of course, it's her big opening night. It's all very exciting. And the Rolling Stones have the best box, right? Because, why
It's the
not?
Stones.
It's Jerry Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the Stones, save one, walked in through the stage door and into the box so they could be incognito, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not seen, not, not harassed in any way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but very much on display in a box. I don't know. You tell me the logic in that. And then Ronnie Wood was late, and he walked into the theater with his date for the evening, and everyone froze and said, we can't talk to him. Like, the upper management wouldn't talk to him because we had a very strict policy that you could not enter the theater until the moment that Mrs. Robinson, like, she was naked on stage,
Mm-hmm.
put her clothes back on. That was the entry point. You couldn't go in and disrupt before that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So Ronnie Wood shows up a little late, and no one would talk to this man. And I'm like, guys, he's just a person. They're like, no, he's a Rolling Stone. I'm like, okay, get over yourselves. I just went up to him. I said, hello. So wonderful of you to be here tonight. I'm really sorry, but we can't let you into the theater right now. It's going to be 20 minutes. Feel free to have a drink at our bar. And he's like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. He goes, do you want to have a drink with me? I would love that. And I'm like, so I had to measure, do I keep my job or do I have a drink with? What makes the better story? So I decided to keep my job because I needed to pay rent, which was exorbitantly high.
Yes.
But Ronnie Wood asked me to have a drink with him. So that is the tall tale of the Rolling Stones and Audition.
I love that. All right. Well, now that we've gone down celebrity lane, we've heard your theatrical highlights. So recently, the big thing that you've done, and something we featured on our social pages because our very own Jillian Robinson was part of this project with you, was the Laramie Project, which was all done with proceeds going to Muskoka Pride. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you conceived of this virtual performance and just like how you put it all together? Because really, looking at the video, the image you shared with us, it was almost like you had like a film shot list that you had to do. So why don't you run us through what the concept was, how you executed it, and then how it all kind of came to be?
Well, originally Muskoka Pride approached me about doing a piece of theater for them, and I said, if I do that, I want to give the proceeds back to you, because part of my mandate with the theater company is up here is to really make it not community theater based, but a community based entity. So there's input from the community, and to do a hybrid of performers from the community with professional actors. So it's this. I want to create a cycle of community engaged artistic practice. So I said that, and the whole idea with Laramie Project was it was supposed to be done live.
Right.
And then, you know, world events took over and COVID-19 hit.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Muskoka Pride, we were like, well, and there's no Pride, there's no Laramie Project, there's no, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but then, you know, the marketing guru for Muskoka Pride is also my son's school teacher. He's
Oh.
wonderful, Sean Forth. And we were talking, and I said, you know, I'd like to do something virtual. Can we do a virtual benefit for you?
Mm.
And he's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
what was really great is Canadian Heritage had given some money for performers, so we got a very small grant to, you know, cover costs and pay the performers a little
Mm-hmm.
honorarium. And then we raised money doing this show for them, which was really awesome.
Hmm.
And yeah, I Laramie Project is one of those shows that if you can't do it live, it serves really well as a documentary film piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do it that way instead of doing like the Zoom with a million people and a million
Yeah.
different, you know, like right through. So I did a scene breakdown for the million characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I cast 15 of the most generous, um, empathetic, genuine people
Mm-hmm.
that I could find. A selection, most of them I have worked with. They have been my students. They have been, you know, they have been in shows that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of York people that I
Yep.
really enjoyed working
Mm-hmm.
with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I will work with time and time again, just because they're, you know what, they're very talented. But to
Mm-hmm.
me, it's about um, your goodness. And these
Mm-hmm.
are just really good people. It's why you and I work, why I love working with you, because you're a good person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and, you know, sometimes it's hard to find,
Yeah.
right?
Especially in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I we did that, and I edited it all together. I My computer survived, which is a miracle, everybody. Literally a miracle. Because you know, I wasn't born into a world where computers were a thing. So I'm like a late learner
Mm-hmm.
in this world. I did not take typing. It was not my jam. I was like, I'm never going to need that skill. What was I thinking? In high school, should have I should have taken that typing class.
Yes.
But yeah, yeah. So I edited it all together. I found
Mm-hmm.
some, you know, copyright available music to
Mm-hmm.
insert in there. We did it all through, you know, the blessings of Dramatist Play Services in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and we put it together. I
Wonderful.
put it together.
You put it together.
I put it
You put it
together.
together.
I put it
Put it
together.
together.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But it was, you know what, Mag, it was great because I learned new skills. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as much as I wanted to punch my computer so badly, multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
um, I didn't. And I learned something new. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself because it really tested everything. Like building my own website for my company
Yeah.
tested every grain of my patience
Mm-hmm.
and my technological abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. Wonderful. Well, Autumn, can you let us know? Do you think you'll be staging more of these online productions now that you have the Laramie Project under your belt?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I'm working hopefully with the Gravenhurst Opera House
Mm-hmm.
for to do something near Christmas time.
Ooh.
That's Muskokan themed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, I'm not afraid of technology. I'm
No, most
you
certainly
know
not.
I'm interested in getting back to live theater and
Mm-hmm.
the prospect of that and what that can look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I live theater is important because it's based on human connection, right?
Yeah.
And we can't really connect fully in 2D. It needs to be a
Mm-hmm.
3D experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah, awesome. Do you think these online productions are a viable substitute for the live experience? Because we're
No.
seeing a whole bunch of people doing these now, between polished readings and the Stratford streaming shows that they've been doing. Broadway.com, all these places have been doing these types of things.
It's great that people have archivals that they can
Mm-hmm.
throw up and say, hey, theater's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's a viable replacement? No, it's not live theater.
Mm-hmm.
Live theater is live. It's
Mm-hmm.
you I don't even know if you can consider it theater because
Mm-hmm.
theater in essence needs to be live. It needs to be something that you can't edit. It
Mm-hmm.
needs to be something that is spontaneous and the energy comes from the ephemeral nature of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think uh, I think we're coping, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think we are coping. We're being tenacious.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of like the city of London.
Mm.
London has been, my favorite city in the world.
Yeah.
It's. I always equate London to the artist's life because no matter what tries to knock down London, it doesn't succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It has this underbelly of energy that keeps it moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think artists are like that too. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think that's what separates us. We're tenacious, we are bold, we take risks, and we hopefully maintain our curiosity in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there are people doing great work right now. Theater Direct and Outside the March are doing this mundane mystery series for kids. There are other companies doing really like musical stage company is doing like porch cabarets, porch evening things. There's things happening in Stratford. People doing porch stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time for conversation and to really reflect on where we're going
Mm-hmm.
because we are not going to live in our houses for the
No.
rest of our lives. you
No.
know uh there are pandemics every 100 years. There really are. If you look at the
Yeah.
history of civilization,
Mm-hmm.
even more frequently. I mean, SARS was not that long ago.
No.
We just contained it faster. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but it did
It's a
not.
different strain. Yeah.
Different strain.
Yeah.
This is just a little bit more pervasive.
Yeah.
And
It's more like the Spanish flu that we had in the 1920s.
yes, 1000%.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, it's following the same trajectory. People
Mm-hmm.
are getting sloppy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna set us back because there will be I firm believer that there will be a second wave of it. It's not done.
Unfortunately.
I'm such I It's funny. I was having a conversation with a student yesterday and I was being quite the realist.
Mm-hmm.
I've moved beyond idealist into realist, but realist with a sense of hope, if
Oh,
that
good.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a dreamer. Sure, I still have wants, but I'm also a realist and I it's almost you hit your mid 40s and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's time
This is
for
life.
realism. Time to buy the house if you don't have the house already. It's time
Yeah.
to get the dog. It's time
Yeah.
to settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Time to figure out how to make money because that's something we all need,
Yes.
you know? But how do you fill the other cup at
Love
the same time?
that.
See how I brought that back.
Well done. Well said. I mean, well, I have to agree. I mean, I'm still in the idealistic area of my life.
Well, you're
As
in
you
your
know,
20s.
I am in my 20s. And we talked all about idealism when we talked about Camelot on our episode
You did.
there, where it was very clear you and I had two very different readings of that musical.
It's funny. I was listening to it yesterday. I was like, oh, I'm such a pessimist. But even Sarah, my partner, is a very upbeat, optimistic person. I'm like, she goes, "You're so negative." I said, "I'm not negative. I'm a realist."
Yes.
I think it's the knowing of how other people work and
Mm-hmm.
studying that for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that intrinsically change will not happen the way we think it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much bigger than an election, than, it's almost like we need to explode humanity and start again.
Could we start again, please?
Hmm.
In the words of JC Superstar.
That's right. That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
But we can't even do that. So how
No.
do we move forward?
Yeah.
Big questions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll go and do a philosophy degree.
Oh, there you go.
I'm having an existential crisis. I need a philosophy degree to figure out what that means.
There you go. Love that. So, one of the things we kind of didn't dive too much into when you gave us your kind of highlight reel was how did you end up behind the table? Because you did dance, your knee was injured, you went off to London after you did Sheridan and Ryerson. But how did you kind of find your way to becoming a director? Like, what was kind of your first foray into that world?
That's a good question. I mean, I started directing when I was really young, like when I was
Okay.
19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed ideating around concept
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I loved, at the time I loved acting,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I'm a strong orator. I think
Yeah.
I'm a strong, like a good public speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but inhabiting and going to that depth
Mm-hmm.
all the time scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I would rather focus on creating
Mm-hmm.
and helping others tell a story. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as a director, I always view myself as a conductor of the
Mm-hmm.
story, not the visionary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how is it best to tell this original piece of work?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you stray from that, things get dangerous. I think
Yeah.
it becomes self-serving and slightly narcissistic. You and I have had this conversation,
We
right?
have. We have. That's how we ended up with the movie Cats. That whole project was a big narcissistic ego trip.
Well, yeah. And I think, we need to stay true to story. I think
Mm-hmm.
story is a huge motivator for change. I think it helps people see the world through an empathetic lens. I think
Mm-hmm.
it shares multiple perspectives. The problem is right now we do not see enough stories from other cultures. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to open our gaze,
Mm-hmm.
um, to invest in other stories, and I think it's very exciting to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so possibility and empowering others to be the best that they can be is
Mm-hmm.
part of my artistic drive.
Mm-hmm.
I really try to be selfless in the work. I didn't start that way. I my the first show that I directed, I wanted all these concepts and big O Fortuna numbers, and I realized over time, especially doing the Irish canon, that the story was enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even devising, like trying to find new ways to get into a story, I find very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with Oh, What a Lovely War, you know, how do we take this almost antiquated Pierrot setting
Mm-hmm.
of the 1960s
Mm-hmm.
and make it relevant to a young contemporary crowd who primarily goes to that theater?
Yeah.
Um, the obvious thing for me was video games. It's in our current vernacular, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the downfall is just as bad.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, that's how I approach the work. How can I
Mm-hmm.
create a vessel for story?
Yeah.
And many directors get in the way of the story because they need to reconceive it, or they need to.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying, and I can think of a very particular production you and I both talked about where we're seeing that type of thing happen, and it's
I
missing the
can think
point.
of millions of versions of this narrative that would not work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So some work, some don't, right? But
Yeah.
directors just have to get out of the way
Mm-hmm.
of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So then, Autumn, for you,
Mhm.
what have been some of your biggest influences and kind of inspirations as a director? Like, okay, have there been certain productions that have really stood out to you over time that you've seen and been like, I've been inspired to do something after watching something like that? Like, what's kind of been a standout for you over the years?
That's really hard. I mean, Irish plays are always a standout for me because they're
Yeah.
really about. Do you know what I love about them? It's the genuine rawness of a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot get more raw than a Irish yarn, right? Sitting in a pub, it's simple. Um, that was a huge influence for me. Um, the work of John Tiffany has always astounded me. I don't know if you know him. He did The Black Watch.
Yeah.
He did I Saw Let the Right One In, which is based on the, I think it's the Swedish or Norwegian vampire movie.
Okay.
Phenomenal. He did Once,
Mm.
and of
Yep.
course he's now known for The Cursed Child.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's something just magical about him, and every bit of magic augments the story. It doesn't squash the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's he's revelatory in the work that he does. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of Phil Aiken. Phil Aiken, former AD of Obsidian Theatre, again, just allows the story to be paramount. And Obsidian, it was this amazing company that, focused on Black artists. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that is happening, that they made that possible,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so impressed with Phil's work and his advocacy for stories that we haven't included
Yeah.
as white people in our theater industry. I,
Mm-hmm.
bravo to him, and bravo to Obsidian for the work that they continue to do.
Yeah.
Um, and what else? I mean, musicals have been a driver for me. I never get to direct them, but which is frustrating because I'm dying to direct musicals. And they're epic versions of simple plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think if you allow them to be simple, you can
Mm-hmm.
really get the poetic justice that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I love a good musical. I listen to musical theater all the time,
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And you know, the last and the most important thing that influences me, other than my family, because they've been a huge, you know, from my parents through to my current partner, and kids, so supportive. Um, my students, I shouldn't even say my students. I am their student. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I learn from everyone around me, and
Yeah.
the gifts that I have been given
Mm-hmm.
in a classroom are, I can't, there's a magnitude to them that I can't express.
Mm-hmm.
I've been so lucky. I'm so lucky to do what I do, and to learn and to have conversations and to collaborate with the young emerging talent that is going to blow up this theater scene, and not even just this theater scene, this world, because art, for me, art infects everything that we do
Yeah.
in a really great way. It injects it with this sense of honesty, um, um, availability, like heart availability, and empathy. And for
Yeah.
me, empathy is a driver. Like it is always about being empathetic. You and I have had many conversations
So
about
many.
villains in
Yes.
musicals and how they're not villains. They
Mm.
We have to find a new way to understand them.
Yes.
So I try to walk through the world that way. Sometimes, you know, it's a challenge,
Yeah.
but I try again,
Mm-hmm.
fail again, try better, fail better. You
And
know.
that's yeah, and that's theater. I mean, theater is a beautiful place to experiment. Sometimes a concept works really well, and it's like that works. Sometimes it's like, yeah, this didn't work, but hey, we tried.
Well, and you also have to be humble enough to admit that you're wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I have to say, doing my MFA at York really taught me that humility,
Mm-hmm.
because I was forced to really evaluate my work,
Mm-hmm.
my practice as a whole, as a human being and an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and to admit that some things don't work, and
Mm-hmm.
then that is okay, that you
Mm-hmm.
have this past to go back and try it again,
Yeah.
right? So yeah.
Speaking of things wanting to go back and try again,
Mm.
what is a project that you would love to re-tackle that you kind of did once and kind of went, I don't know if that fully hit its mark? I
Love
mean, you
that.
were lucky enough to do that with like Oh What a Lovely War, where you were able to go back and reconceive it into the video game world after doing it as your MFA graduate piece.
I mean, I
So
will always go back to that piece.
yeah.
It is a piece that will always evolve. And I think every piece of theater I have ever done, I want to do again,
Mm-hmm.
because you watch it and you go, oh, every time I sit and watch a piece of work in its final stage, you go, oh, I want, there's more to mine. You know, there's more to explore, there's more to play with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great sandbox, right? And that's the beauty of live theater. It's, you know, as an actor, you get to keep expanding.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a good actor, you keep being curious about the world and each other as artists on stage. And I
Yeah.
think Oh What a Lovely War is one of those plays that I would love to try again. I mean, each time I've done it, you know, the two times, each time, it sounds like I've done it multitudes of times. Um, but I would want to do it. I need to do that one again. Certainly, the Rake's Progress is a piece that I've been working on for the last 15 years, and it
Mm-hmm.
keeps morphing in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every piece I have ever done, I would want to go back and look at again. Caucasian Chalk Circle, Our Town, all of them. Like there's
I'm still waiting for Ovid to be redone
Tales
by
of
you.
Ovid, Antigone.
Mm.
like Orestes, you know, there's so many there's so many great things to keep exploring in these works,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a time when we've been in isolation and with our
Yeah.
own thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we find new relevancy for these works?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say all of them,
Wonderful.
even
Well,
Annie,
even Annie.
even
Even Annie.
Annie.
There's stuff to explore in Annie. It's not just a childish show. There's so much more there you can dive into.
No, no,
You
it's
converted me on that show after we did our episode on it in
yes, I
season one.
did.
Because I was
Yeah.
very much on the opposite end of Annie, where I was like, oh, we're doing Annie. All right, here we go. Break out my
He was very
red
anti
wig.
Annie.
I was very
Yet
anti
he
Annie.
brought me Titanic,
Hey, that brought you to 1776.
thankfully.
And even Titanic, I think has merit. There is a lot to explore in there if done correctly.
Yeah, okay. It needs some work. Needs some work. Maury Eston, get on that.
Yeah.
I'm encouraging you to do so.
Hmm. And so then my next question for you, Autumn, though, is
Mm,
because as you said, you're always a student, you're always looking to learn and grow.
yeah.
Who is a world-renowned theater director that you would like to work with, and kind of like learn from?
I hate that question.
I told you I would send you all the questions in advance. You're like, oh no, I got this.
I know. Um, John Tiffany or Phil Aiken. I would work
Mm.
with either of those gentlemen.
Hmm.
Um, I'm fascinated by male directors
Hmm.
because I'm not a male, and I'm always trying to um, find that in and
Hmm.
what how they process differently and how brains work. And every male is different, right?
Hmm.
Every female is. We're all
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
but that you know. Um, if female directors, Wendy Mangesha at Soul Pepper. I think Wendy Mangesha is phenomenal, a phenomenal director who stays out of the way
Yeah.
of the work. And I think she is remarkable in what she is able to produce.
Hmm.
Um, that's about it for me.
Those are great names. Those are
I
great
well,
names.
I would also say like Richard Eyre, but Richard Eyre is, very much retired. I
Yes.
w- I would sit in any room and watch. It's
Hmm.
very frustrating. I've been an assistant director. It's very frustrating because you're like, I want to I want to do something and
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
Um, but it is a learning. It is.
It's a fantastic learning process. I've learned my most of directing from watching you in the
Oh,
room, which from us doing Ovid, Twelfth Night,
I'm one
Her Lovely
person.
War.
Well, you know what? It's my directing style is very different than most people.
Perfect.
I uh but what you learn I think in watching other people work
Hmm.
is for the most part how you want to handle a room
Mm.
and how you see, like, for me it's about the connectedness between people and seeing what they respond to. It's
Yeah.
more of a human experiment rather
Hmm.
than watching their process, because I'm pretty secure in the process that I have acquired,
Hmm.
and it's taken a long time, and
Hmm.
but I'm confident with it, and I know how I want to direct. That
Hmm.
is something that will never change.
Yeah.
But watching the relationships is fascinating, and watching what people respond to and how to best be in collaboration with people. And every process is different. Every person
Hmm.
enters a room at a different pace, at a
Hmm.
different rhythm, you know.
Hmm.
Everyone has different needs.
Yeah.
So trying to find that by watching other people, I find really fascinating. And, sometimes it doesn't work. I have had some horrible experiences in a rehearsal room, like absolutely horrendous. And that's the other reason why I'm interested in watching men work. And that sounds really, I don't know, that sounds really awful, but as a woman, the respect level is different. So watching male directors try to navigate has given me some huge clues in the past. And yeah, it as a female director, it has not been easy. I will be honest with you. It is a thing that women are not respected as directors in the same way as men are. Whether it be from a university student right through to people working at Stratford Festival. And it has been it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey, but I have picked up clues, and especially working with these people over time, you start to understand types of people and what they need. And it's not a criticism. People all come with their own stuff into a room. I come with my own stuff, but trying to dismantle that so we can work together harmoniously, that's different. So really just, I did a great workshop with Richard Rose, and watching him navigate a room was really informative. And my respect for him is huge. But definitely Phil Aiken and John Tiffany for sure. Phil Aiken because he is a storyteller, and he is brilliant at it, and I have so much to learn. I have so much to learn from him. And John Tiffany because he's the magic man. He's the magic man. And Wendy Mangesha because I think she is a powerhouse. And I am so impressed with what she has done with Soul Pepper in her brief tenureship to this point. She's a leader. She is every artistic director should be like Wendy Mangesha. She's brilliant. Brilliant.
Love that. Okay, we got 2 more questions to go. So first off, the second last question, the penultimate question is, what would be your one big piece of advice you'd want to give either upcoming directors or upcoming artists as they head into the new world post-COVID? Like, what is something we should all be thinking about and driving toward?
Oh, that's see, now I'm thinking I should ask these questions ahead of time. No, I think, look at that. I did an indicator right there.
I know.
With my beard. What do I think? My best advice is know that this is what you want to do. Because it's hard. It is hard for 99.9% of people. There is like the point, even more than that, 0.001% just jump out and land themselves in a nice job, right? It is hard. You will have to do things that you don't want to do to sustain yourself, right? I have had every Joe job on the face of the planet. That's my first piece of advice. If this is something you have to do, there's nothing else that will make you satisfied. Do it, but know that you are going to have to be tenacious and bold and strong. You're gonna have to be strong. Don't sell yourself out. Don't make other people change you. because, this industry is a lot about trying to be something for someone else.
Right.
And we all want the job. We all want to be the best. But a lot of the time, the best is whoever,
Yeah.
goes to the most parties, or, it's not. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, don't sell yourself. Be the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
Don't try to be someone else to get the job.
Mhm.
We're in performing arts. It doesn't mean you need to be performative in your own personal life. You
Ooh,
will lose pieces
yes.
of yourself. It is a hard job, which forces us to, unfortunately, lose pieces of ourselves. I sold myself out for a very long time,
Mhm.
trying to be a different version of myself to impress other people.
Mhm.
Be yourself. With noting that, know that yourself is always good enough.
Mhm.
And even if other people don't see that,
Mhm.
it's okay. You have to know it within yourself, because you know what? It's a very performative industry. People are always trying to impress, to put themselves out there, to, get the job. It's very, very band-aid. I call it band-aid. And there's a lot of band-aid solutions with the industry, and we need to start. The only way our industry can change is if we are all coming into it as genuine people.
Mhm. Oh, Autumn, beautiful, beautiful words. I have to say, you hit it out of the park.
Wow. But it's true. Like, when I was at Canadian Stage, I was doing the Territorial Tales project,
Mhm.
and I got a ton of, I had like 95 pictures and resumes to go through for 6 spots, and you're like, where do I go with this?
Mhm.
And I was going through the pictures, and I took the 6 pictures of the people who I thought just were.
Mhm.
And those ultimately were the 6 people that got cast,
Wow.
because they had a kindness that exuded from their photo. Like, they exuded kindness, and they came into the room and they were just kind and genuine. And, you know 89 other people came into that room because I audition everybody. If you're a director, audition everybody. Give everybody a chance, because you never know who's going to walk through your door,
It's true.
right? You
We had
never
some
know.
fantastic auditions when we did What a Lovely War together.
Amazing. But again, even with that, I knew the people that I was going to cast by the way they came in, shook my hand, and were like, hey, I'm here,
Yeah.
right? I knew the people that I wanted to work with and who I could work with in a room.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come in like trying to impress me, I shut down, because I'm like, this is going to be too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to be too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, the genuine goes a long way, guys.
Mm.
A long way.
Snaps.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
You have an
Final question.
ultimate question.
Yeah,
Ultimate.
ultimate question. It's a fun one. Autumn, why should people listen to our podcast? Because as I've mentioned on all our review episodes, we do a podcast. We talked about it when we did R&J together. Why should people listen to that?
I mean, it's you and I.
That's true. If you like this, then you should go check us out more.
I think what I really appreciated about the podcast is the fact that we come in knowing this music and loving it, and we want to talk about this musical, and then we start to dissect it, and we allow ourselves to get messy in the arguments that we find. So it's so critically engaged. I find listening to it sometimes I'm like, whoa, you came out with that? And then I listen again and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad Mackenzie Horner is my podcast partner, because friends, literally, Mackenzie Horner is the smartest person in the room. He is a thesaurus, a dictionary, an encyclopedia of musical theater information. You come out with stuff and I'm like, did you spend like 10 years researching this one musical? And we both approach the work in a very different way, which is, I think, is a great marriage of minds. We offer two very different perspectives, two very different lived experiences. And ultimately, we're talking about musicals. If you don't like musicals, you need to start liking musicals. And why do I say that? Because musicals, A, they have music, but B, they have beautiful stories and they're accessible and you can think about them. Like, don't go into a musical going, oh, I hate musicals. Go in as if you're looking at a new piece of art or a new piece of writing or a new novel or poetry, because they encompass all those things. And they're love letters to life. That is what musicals are. They're a love letter to life that is accessible to all. Not on many stages, unfortunately, but perhaps post-COVID, they will be. But to listen to engage, to envision, to let it take you away. And yes, we all burst into song every once in a while. I dare you, one person who is watching this, to email me and say, I have never burst into song in the middle of a conversation or in my car or in my shower. I dare you. And then you will tell me that and I will say, do you have a heart? Are you the Tin Man?
Even the Tin Man had a heart.
Yeah.
As we find it at the end.
At the end.
Yes.
Are you a Hollow Crown?
Oh, that's a great series to watch. Watch The Hollow Crown.
Amazing.
Yes. Perfect. Well, that's all the questions I had for us to talk about. I mean, we're right on the money with time. We haven't gone crazy like we do, where we do 4 hours of stuff on the podcast that I have to re-edit.
Well,
perfectly right in time here.
We did talk for an hour before we started.
That is true. That actually is true.
I mean, that's our gift.
Yes.
We've done a whole season of podcasting, and I think every episode clocked in at 4 or 5 hours and needed to be edited.
Yeah, trust me. It's an adventure every time, let me tell you.
Every time.
But there we go, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this lovely interview. You can catch Autumn next with us when she joins us for the Cup Roundtable series, where we'll be talking all about Shakespeare and gender. So stay tuned for that.
That will be interesting.
Yes. Oh my goodness. We're gonna have some really good fun conversations there. So that is in the pipe works. So be sure to keep an eye out for when it comes out at the end of the month. And then Autumn, where can they find you and your company?
You can access me at Autumn DM Smith on Facebook and Instagram. And you can access the company, littlewoodsmith, on Facebook and Instagram, or littlewoodsmith.com.
Beautiful. Wonderful. And you can find our podcast,
Yes.
Before the Downbeat, a musical podcast, on all listening platforms, including Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And yeah, I mean, by the time this comes out, we will have just announced we are going to be covering falsettos this Friday. So be
Amazing.
sure to tune in for that on Friday. And also be sure to keep watching our the Cup reviews. We've now finished with the Stratford YouTube series, and now
Ooh.
we're into our uh, Stratford Cineplex series. So we have released our Merry Wives episode, and coming this Friday is our episode all about Othello,
Mm.
featuring the wonderfully talented David Collins from the Stratford Festival, because he is a wonderful man who has graced us with his presence not once but twice. So be sure to tune in for that on Friday. And then also be sure to keep an eye out for our upcoming production of The Man of Destiny by George Bernard Shaw, which is coming out on September the 9th. It is our next polished reading. And you'll find me playing Lieutenant in that
Oh,
wonderful production, directed by, once again, our wonderful artistic director, Will Bartley. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Every Friday, we're releasing fun cast and creative team interviews.
awesome.
Our video with Will has now dropped, and this Friday, you'll get to meet our first cast member.
Oh,
So be sure to tune in for that. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Autumn, I raise a cup to you and your eternal wealth of knowledge, because this has been very informative.
well,
Cheers to you.
thank you for having me, Mackenzie Horner, and
And
Cup
you.
of Hemlock.
Thank you, and we'll see you all very soon.
All right.
Bye!
Cheers.